of violent clashes between white nationalists and counter-protesters in Charlottesville, Virginia, that left one woman dead. After which, the president said there were, you'll of course remember, fine people on both sides. And, mind you, this is a day after the president's Justice Department was slapped for brazenly disregarding a judge's order over asylum cases. And just days after, one of the president's most high-profile supporters on his favorite TV network said this.
It does seem like the America that we know and love doesn't exist anymore. Massive demographic changes have been foisted upon the American people. And they're changes that none of us ever voted for and most of us don't like.
And add to this, hypocrisy alert. The First Lady's parents became U.S. citizens yesterday as a result of, wait for it, chain migration. Yes, this.
We have to end chain migration. We have to end chain migration.
Except maybe when the chain migration is coming from Slovenia and they are the parents of your wife, I guess. So, we wrap this week asking the same question we have asked many, many times before. When it comes to race relations in this country, where is the president in all of this? And where are we, America? CNN's Abby Phillip is traveling with the president in New Jersey with more on this. Abby, you could have set your watch with this one. Protests at NFL games and the president firing off then this morning. Why is the president going back at this?
Absolutely, Kate. Absolutely no one should be surprised that President Trump has decided to weigh in on this issue. Again, President Trump has made it clear over the last year since he began this diatribe against the NFL at a rally in Alabama in September of last year. He's been doing it at every single opportunity, in part because it's something that moves his base. How do we know that? Well, the president has said that. As CNN reported late last year at a fundraiser, he told supporters that this was a winning issue for his base. Jerry Jones, the Dallas Cowboys owner, testified under oath that the president told him in a phone conversation, and I quote, this is a very winning, strong issue for me. This one lifts me. So, Kate, it is clear President Trump believes this is a political winner. We are months away now from a midterm election in which the president is eager to gin up his base. This and so many other issues are one of them. But I should also add, it's not the first time in recent weeks that the president has seemed to question the intelligence of black professional athletes. He just a week ago said that LeBron James wasn't very smart, and now this time he's saying that the players themselves don't understand what they are even protesting. We do know what they're protesting. They talk about it all the time. They're protesting racial injustice in this country, but that's something that President Trump has rarely talked about. And as you pointed out, we are on the eve of yet another protest, Unite the Right protest on the anniversary of the Charlottesville march that was just a year ago, and President Trump, again, hasn't said anything about that, hasn't spoken about the divisive rhetoric that's about to be on display in the nation's capital in just a couple of days. Kate.
All right, Abby, keep us updated if you do hear more from the White House, not just from, as we're looking at the president's Twitter feed right now. Joining me right now to discuss, Dante Stallworth, longtime NFL player and now a CNN contributor. Immigration attorney Raul Reyes is here, and CNN political commentator, host of The Van Jones Show, Van Jones. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Dante, first to you. You saw this from the president, another round of this, and you're thinking what right now?
Well, I think everyone knew that the president was going to say something about players kneeling. He expects them to, to just take a backseat and turn a blind eye to all the racial inequalities that are going on in this country. When you look at the people who are in prisons today, close to 60% of the prison population are people of color. And these are the things that the players have protested. And this is what they've been talking about. They are eloquent and articulate, and they've explicitly said why they are protesting. And the president decided to tweet this morning that the players, most of them are unable to clearly define why they are protesting, when obviously he has not been paying attention at all. And he does not show that same type of ire that he draws towards the NFL players as he does, or as he has shown to the white nationalists who marched in Charlottesville, killing a young lady, and just a number of other things that are unacceptable in this country today where they're yelling and screaming, Jews will not replace us. I mean, is that the type of country that we want to live in? We can't allow this to continue to fester because it can get it's already gotten out of hand, but it can get even worse, and we shouldn't allow that.
All of this kind of happening at this same moment, Van, as Dante was getting to, when the president says most of the players aren't able to define what they're protesting, it's not like it was just defined. I mean, I had one of the players who was at the forefront of the NFL protests, Malcolm Jenkins. He was on the show a year ago, in September of last year.
Very eloquent.
Very eloquent. Maybe for the president, but for everyone. Here's what Malcolm Jenkins said about why they're protesting.
If you just go back to what everything has started, where the need even came from, it's all about racial inequality.
Right.
When it comes to our justice system, when it comes to, you know, the education gap, economics, we all feel like we have a responsibility to effectuate change in our communities. And this is an opportunity to really grab a hold of that responsibility.
So, Van, what is the president doing with this idea of the players don't know what they're protesting?
You know, unfortunately, he continues to do this kind of IQ insult against African Americans. He calls Maxine Waters low IQ. He calls LeBron James dumb. He calls Don Lemon dumb. He says, you know, the players can't define stuff. But what all these people have in common is that they're all African American, or in the NFL case, the protesters mostly African American. So that is a standard racial stereotype that black people are intellectually inferior to white people, and he tends to play in that nasty end of the pool quite a bit, and that's what we have going on here.
But at the same time, he's holding a criminal justice reform panel yesterday. Yeah. This is something near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, it's a tale of two presidencies. On the substance, what these players are talking about has actually pushed the conversation forward to the point that President Trump himself this week met with governors about criminal justice reform. So on the substance, the president's moving in a good direction. But on the symbols and on the nonsense, and the politics of it versus the policy, he continues to step on the message. He continues to play in the thing. So it's really the tale of two presidencies. On the one hand, the President Trump may actually do something positive on criminal justice on the policy side, but on the politics of it, he wants to keep playing nasty and dirty.
And then you have, add to all of this adds, right, to this moment. And then add to this, Raul, what Laura Ingraham said on her show this week about changing demographics in this country. Is what we didn't vote for. She tried to distance herself from it in a statement. Take with it what you will, but I mean, there's no. I see you shaking your head because there's no dog whistle here. There's no talk of gang violence or border or security or terrorism.
Or even undocumented immigrants. She's taking aim now at undocumented immigrants, legal immigrants, and basically all of these social, economic, cultural changes that we've seen in this country in her mind over the last few years, which to her and a certain segment of the population are not, you know, not what they consider this country to be about. And you're right, she did try to walk it back a little bit, but I mean, we're not, as you said, this is not a dog whistle, this is like the foghorn, so certain things you cannot walk back. And you know, she is wrong, because when she talks about this is not what we voted for, the undocumented population in this country, they represent less than a fourth of all immigrants who are here. Everyone else came through legal channels by lawful means. So we did vote for those changes by electing our lawmakers and electing a Congress in this year and other years past that formulated our immigration laws. So she's promoting a myth, and she knows exactly what she's doing, because the start and end for this conversation, she started off the conversation before this meditation on immigration. It began talking about Alexandria Ocasio and ended with a Honduran immigrant accused of some horrific crime. So it's pretty blatant that she means Latinos, Hispanics, and other